Welcome everybody, I'm Liz Marek, and today I'm going to show you how to make a gum paste lotus flower. This is a tutorial that I made years ago, and I only took photos of the process, and I'm just now getting it together for you, so hopefully you enjoy this. This is a great flower to use on an oriental style cake or for something like water lilies. I just think it's a really beautiful flower, and I actually couldn't find a tutorial on how to make a lotus, so hopefully you'll find this useful. So the first thing that we're going to do is make the inside section of our flower. This is something that you want to do ahead of time. I usually make several of these and just have them on hand. But you're going to take a 3 or 4 inch long piece of floral wire. I like to use 24 gauge or 26. This is a thread covered wire that's used for gum paste flowers. You can purchase those online. I have a link to my online Amazon store in the description of this video where you can buy any of the materials or tools that I'm talking about. If you don't know what they are, you can go there and look at them. So anyways, we're going to take our piece of floral wire and we're going to make a little hook, and we're going to thread that into a ball of gum paste, and this is going to be the base of our flower. And then you want to let that dry overnight. If you don't let it dry, it could potentially pop off the end of the wire there. So go ahead and make your little ball and let that dry. After your little ball is dry, we're going to take some green gum paste. By the way, the recipe to gum paste is on my website. I use Nicholas Lodge's gum paste recipe. It's very good. You're going to dye a little bit of the gum paste green with just a little bit of green food coloring, like avocado is a good color for the kind of green that we're going for. And you're going to put that onto the end of the ball and smooth out the sides and then flatten the top, and then use like a little ball tool or a toothpick to put some holes in the top. This kind of creates the look of the lotus pod. Next thing we're going to do is make some yellow gum paste by just adding a little bit of lemon yellow food coloring to our gum paste. And always keep a little bit of shortening on your fingers when you're working with gum paste, and that keeps the surface nice and smooth so that it doesn't crack and stays moist. And always keep the gum paste that you're not using covered with a plastic bag or a plastic cup so that the air can't get to it. So roll out your yellow gum paste into some long strips and cut them in half like shown, or you can fold them in half, and apply them to the sides of your seed pod and go all the way around, and then actually do a second layer of yellow strips that are slightly longer, and these are all the stamens of the lotus flower. Next we're going to make our petals. For our petals, I decided to go with a pink ombre look. I thought that added a lot of depth and interest to the color of our flower. So the first thing I did was I took probably golf ball size piece of gum paste and dyed it pink, and I used soft pink. I think that's a nice color. Just kneaded that into the gum paste, and for the cutter I actually took a circle cutter and squished it to make an oval, but if you have an oval cutter or something like a leaf cutter, that works really well for this. I try to use the cutters I have and not buy specialty cutters when at all possible. Go ahead and cut some petals out, and keep the ones that you're not using covered with a piece of plastic wrap so they don't dry out. And to make our wired petals, you're going to take the petal in your hand and hold the center between your thumb and forefinger, your pointer finger, and then insert the wire into the petal, and you'll be able to feel it go in between your two fingers. Try not to have the end poke out. You might take a couple of tries to get that right. But your gum paste should be rolled thin enough that, like probably a 1/16 of an inch. You could get that with a pasta machine or with your rolling pin, but you don't want your petals to be too heavy. So once you have your wire inserted into the petal, go ahead and place it onto your flower former. It's just a piece of foam, and use your ball tool to thin out the edges so that our petal looks more realistic. And then we're going to take our modeling tool and just put a few little textured lines into the ends of the petals. And this just adds to the realism of the look of the petal. And then we're going to give the petal some shape by taking our ball tool and just running it down the center and kind of like making it so that the petal cups. So you're going to take the ball tool at the tip of the petal and then press down onto the foam and drag it towards you so that the petal gets cupped. and then we're going to place that petal onto the spoon formers to dry overnight. I show you how to make this spoon former in my book, but basically it's just a bunch of plastic spoons glued to a cardboard, it's actually a cake board, and I use this for drying my petals. So I made probably like 10 petals or so with this pink, and then I added a little bit of white gum paste to my pink to get a medium pink color, and did the same thing, same process with 10 more petals. And then I took some of my white gum paste and added just a little bit of pink to the white so that I had a very light white gum paste, and made probably about 15 petals of the white. And I put those all on the former to dry. After your petals and your center is dried, we can start dusting them and assembling our flower. I'm just using a little bit of petal dust. I prefer petal dust from the Sugar Art. When I made this tutorial, I had this really crummy petal dust. It did not work very good, but I prefer actually the loose petal dust from the Sugar Art. And I just took a nice little medium purplish pink and dusted the tips of all of my petals. And after you're done dusting, make sure you steam your petals with a travel steamer just to set the color, or spray them with a little bit of water from your airbrush, just lightly, and that just brings out the depth of color. So now we're going to start adding our petals. We take our center and we hold it upside down, and we start layering on our petals and overlapping them and twisting our wires together. And we're going to keep doing that, so we'll start with, some small ones in the center, and then we'll put on another layer overlapping, and then another layer overlapping, until you have 3 layers of petals. So we have our dark pink, our medium pink, and our light pink petals. And all of our wires are twisted together. And then once the wires are all twisted together, I like to put a toothpick at the very end and then secure everything with some floral tape. Remember, when you're using floral tape, to pull off a piece and then give it a stretch before you start wrapping it around the wires, or it won't stick. So that's basically it, guys. It's not too complicated. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I know that usually I film things, but I had these pictures laying around, so I really wanted to make this video for you so that it's useful. If you're curious about the final cake, I achieved that texture using Marvelous molds. They're onlays. I absolutely adore those, and I have actually another video how I actually use Marvelous molds if you want to check that out. If you have any questions, as usual, leave them down there in the comments and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time.